This is the talk of Music City real estate.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City real estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
This is Monte Mohr, Realty One Group, Music City.
Hey, and it's Carey Ann with CMG Financial and My Mortgage Team. And welcome back. It's Sunday evening.
Welcome back, Carey Ann. So good to see you. I want to remind all the listeners that if you have any questions about real estate or financing with a home, please go to questions@talkmusiccity.com. That's questions@talkmusiccity.com or Talk Music City. Remember, this show depends on your questions, and it revolves around that, the strength and the importance of your questions. There's nothing too small, nothing's too great. We'll talk about it all.
Yes, absolutely. And this also is a podcast, so please subscribe. You can pull up any of these shows anytime and listen to them at your leisure. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music Podcasts, plus many more other platforms. You can also watch the show on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Simply search The Talk of Music City.
Carey Ann, it's July 7th. Did you have a good 4th?
Great 4th. Lots of excitement happening in our household. Yep. My daughter loves, it was so funny, a couple years back, we were searching to find the fireworks, where we live. And I went outside and I swore I could maybe find them. And I kept walking and walking to find. And I finally came home and realized that she was just in her bedroom looking out the window and she could see them perfectly. Oh. So she has the best view in the house for awesome. Sure. So there's no need to walk around anymore. Now we just hang out right in her bedroom. Yep. It's a cool view for sure.
Perfect. We've flown the grandkids in for the weekend, and we had a great time. I've got some of the best grandkids in the whole wide world.
You do, and the cutest.
They're amazing. I'm blessed for sure. But anyway, so happy 7th of July to everybody. We before we get started in today's program, I wanted to talk for a minute about our last session with Mr. Tom Henry, founder of Feed America First. Was that incredible?
Incredible. Made me speachless.
I know it. I mean, we haven't been that way, especially you.
Yeah, it's hard to keep me quiet.
But seriously, I watched the podcast, and we left that night, or that day, that night with speaking with Tom, and said, what was wrong? It's like we couldn't talk.
Right.
But after watching it, the podcast on Facebook at the Talk of Music City, by the way, it was incredible. I understood exactly why we were hesitant to say anything. How do you follow something like that? The passion he still has. That's what spoke to me the most, I think, Carey Ann, was after 20 years of helping people in this capacity, it hasn't affected his zeal or his passion towards them. He's that real.
Yeah. He was quite moving, and just to understand, just how much hunger there still is here, in Middle Tennessee, and what he's been able to do. And what $100 can do is amazing. I know it. It's how many families it can feed.
It's so empowering to know that if you can donate $100, they can provide 1,000 to 1,200 meals with that $100. How do you say no to that? And that's what Connie and I looked at each other across the table that night at that function called Dancing with the Nashville Stars. That's the first time we heard anything about Feed America First, and we looked at each other and said, how can we not get involved in this organization? Sure. If they can multiply your money like that, how can we not? And to know that there's that level of a need, to know that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of senior citizens going to bed at night without full stomachs, not knowing for sure if they should buy their medication or if they should pay the rent. But they can't do both and buy food. That's just, and how many kids are going to bed at night. To think that they've gone from a pickup truck 20 years ago to now providing meals for 35 to 40,000 people a month, that's just incredible.
Incredible. Mm-hmm. And I think he was talking about going up to Clarksville too, which that's exciting, to help serve the veterans up there.
It breaks my heart that they even have a need like that. That was the other edge of that sword. It's like, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Our military have. Anyhow, there can't be enough said about Feed America First and how incredible the organization is. For those that are listening and didn't get to listen to that particular episode, be sure and do so. And be sure to check out feedamericafirst.com. That's feedamericafirst.com, and give either in time or money or food to them. We're every once in a while we do a food drive at our office. as we shared, that there's a possibility that there's amazing blonde dancers going to be dancing this November, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that, right?
We'll talk about that soon enough. Yeah, too funny.
But seriously, you'll find that is one of the more challenging things you could ever do. But yet, to think about being part of creating meals for a million folks, that's incredible.
It is definitely incredible.
So another thing I wanted to share today before we get into our questions is. Our topics is a coming event. You and some other ladies are in charge of this organization called The Blaze, right? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the Real Estate Blaze. So Kristen Staybeck and Emily Daniel and I created the Real Estate Blaze back, I think it was October of 2017. And it is a monthly masterclass for all of real estate agents here in Middle Tennessee. Mm-hmm. It was a way for us to give back to our local real estate community. And we love that. And we bring in different speakers, different national speakers. We have great panelists that we have each month, and just different fun excitement. We bring education with a fun twist, for sure.
You've had some great speakers, some great sessions. I mean, it's amazing how it's grown.
Yeah.
That room there at Mercedes on Bakers Bridge Road is usually packed. I've learned to get there not 30 minutes early, but usually have to get 45 or an hour early just because the seating is so tight. But
we wanted to bring speakers that weren't as local that maybe you could hear any day. Mm-hmm. And we've teamed up with amazing sponsors here locally that also want to give back to the local real estate community. And so we were able to bring in national speakers. And we're really excited because this week we have an international speaker and one that I actually met through you because you read the book and you are so good to me. You always want me to read more books and educate myself more. And
well,
you know that I get through.
You can write plenty of books, Carey Ann. Let's make sure we're clear on that. But this particular speaker that's going to be here this coming Wednesday, the 10th, the book literally changed my life. And I don't say that lightly. Mm-hmm. It literally changed my life.
Yeah. And just his story it still gives me goosebumps today, and I will tell you that my life in the last 40 days now has changed since I really purchased the book and started taking a lot of time and investing my personal time in listening to his story and his podcast, et cetera. So good stuff.
It's not, we don't make anything mandatory in our office,
no.
Real estate professionals,
right.
But we do make this the top of the list of a suggestion because, again, if you'll read Miracle Morning in general, there's several versions of Miracle Morning, but the Miracle Morning for real estate agents, if you're a real estate agent out there and you haven't read this book or listened to it, I actually started it again for the third time this morning, and when I was walking, it is absolutely life-changing. And and if you go online with the Miracle Morning, you'll get, there's some other affirmations that you can get. And I took it literally. And I signed an affirmation. I made a commitment to myself to get up earlier every morning. It's all about making sure you've got a strong foundation. But his story,
I don't know if we even said who it was.
I know it. we
need to actually share who the author is.
I know it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought that you were going to do that.
Yeah, it's Hal Elrod.
Hal Elrod.
Yes. And again, he's coming to town here on the 10th, and all real estate agents are welcome. We have the Blaze down at the Nissan Stadium on the club level. You want to be sure to save your seat, so check out the Real Estate Blaze on Facebook to make sure you reserve your seat. We also have VIP special tickets if you want to have a meet and greet with him. You also get a book, and you get to get a picture with him, and you get his autograph, etc. But he is going to share his story from 1 to 3, and the VIP ticket allows you to get in a couple hours early to get to meet him.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. We paid for the VIP because we're excited about. Have I told you that he changed my life?
He changed your life.
Changed my life.
Tell us a little bit about his story, because you say it the best.
Well, I don't, but his story. His 21-year-old successful guy in business. He just got awarded top in his industry. He's heading home. He's got the music cranked up in his convertible Mustang. This is I don't know, must be 15, 20 years ago now, I guess, something like that. He's heading down the road 60 miles an hour, whatever the speed limit is. And it's celebrating this eventful evening, and all of a sudden, a pickup comes out of nowhere and hits him head on at 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
Okay, head on, 70 miles an hour. That pushed him across the lane, and then another car hit him broadside on the driver's side. And it's just an incredible story. He was pronounced dead at the scene. He then was revived in the ambulance on the way back to the hospital. He was told he'd never walk again. He's run marathons. It's just an incredible, incredible story. What I was sharing with my team yesterday morning on our huddle call, was, if for no other reason you want to listen to this man, it's about developing willpower, about developing a character of personal strength that you can walk through the fire. I mean, can you imagine going through what I just shared, and then 2 years ago he comes up with this, he ends up getting this rare cancer that tried to take him down.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's just, and he's overcome that now, is my understanding as well. So I missed it all, and I'm so grateful that you brought him to town, and I know that was a big commitment, and thank you, Carey Ann. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. But let's talk a little bit more about Hal and the Miracle Morning book and the story, because I have a different, outlook of it, and I took a different take on the book, but even business owners out there can learn a lot. So, hey, so we're going to take a quick short break, but when you return, we're going to talk more about Hal Elrod and the Miracle Morning book. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here, Realty One Group, Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and My Mortgage Team.
Carey Ann, I'm excited. If you haven't heard yet, I'm excited about Hal Elrod coming to Nashville this Wednesday. How exciting is that?
Yes.
How many people do you expect? I mean,
we should expect, quite a few for sure. We want to make sure everybody RSVPs. So if you are a real estate agent, definitely check out the Real Estate Plays on Facebook and reserve your seat. Like we said earlier, there's VIP tickets. You can have a meet and greet with him. And you also get a book, a signature, a photo, and a lot of other things and fun.
And the time on that is what time?
The meet and greet is going to start at 10:45 with a VIP ticket, and then the free event for real estate agents starts at 1 to 3. He'll start the talk, and he's going to be talking just basically about the Miracle Morning and how that can make a difference in your business. And one thing that I loved, and I'm so thankful that you brought his name up, because that's actually how we started, the girls and I started having this conversation about really good speakers. And when you referenced his name 6 or 7 months ago in conversation, that was brought up in a topic. And he used to sell Cutco knives back in the day. That was his first big job. And so he's a huge supporter of other people that sell Cutco knives. And Kristen with 360 Business Growth, that's one of her big products that she sells. So she had the in with Hal and was able to make the connection there. So we're really grateful for that, for sure. But, the Miracle Morning, I was an early bird, and I was getting up at 4 anyways. But you can get up and you can drink coffee. But, the reason why I was getting up was really not about me. It was about helping other clients and approving loans and trying to get as much done just from on my personal checklist, in the morning, but I didn't have any structure, right? Even though I got up early, I was not one, and it doesn't matter what size you are, because if you're not someone who is into exercise and you want to, you dislike it and you think it's horrible like myself, that was not at all something that I ever really thought I would ever be interested in doing. And so when I heard his first interview or talk that I listened to, he was talking about he did not like exercise either, and he was in the coaching program, I think, or coaching business, and the times shifted so many years ago, and nobody was buying coaching, and his business started falling apart.
He started losing his home, I think.
Yeah, I think things were just going in the wrong direction, and so he reached out to other business coaches or business mentors, and they kept saying, "Well, you're working out in the morning?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? I need to focus on how we're going to grow my business." And he kept saying, "Are you working out in the morning?" It starts with, the right morning. And so to me, I said, if somebody who was just like me, who did not care for exercise, could do this, maybe I can do it. And so my approach of working out in the morning was not to listen anymore to my 80s fun pop music, but was really to open my brain and my mind to how I can take my business to the next level. And you and I are two people that are very successful in our businesses, but I'm just that person who wants to go that's even bigger, right? I want to help even more families. And so how do you do that? Well, you listen to other people that have been more successful, right?
Success leaves clues. That's what I keep saying.
For sure. I love that. And so for the last 30 days, because of this book, I have committed to getting out there and moving. And that's just it. It doesn't matter how fast you're moving, what you're doing. You're just, just making a step in the forward direction. And that was huge with what I got out of this book.
It's kind of scary, Carey Ann, to think that you've done what you've done listening to your 80s pop music. Now that you're getting founded with some really solid information, holy cow, the rest of us might as well stay home, I guess, when it comes to succeeding in anything around real estate.
He has an amazing podcast. If you guys want to know about it, it's great. And I listen to it a lot. And he has some amazing speakers on it, but it's called Achieve Your Goals with Hal Elrod. Yeah. And it's just one that brightens my morning for sure. So I get a lot of information. And another girl I love is Mel Robbins, but she talks about for females, I guess it's anybody, but 30 before 7:30. So I try to do 30 minutes of exercise, before 7:30, which to you, I think you learned in the book, there's a thing called savers. Is that what it is?
Right.
So S is for
silence.
So we get up and not talk.
Might be being quiet. It might be praying. It might be meditating, but it's S is for silence. And that's what everybody needs to internalize when they read the book is savers. This acronym, what are the letters stand
Lifesavers,
for?
he calls it, right?
Lifesavers, yeah, absolutely. And they are lifesavers. I mean, seriously, 2 years ago, roughly 2 years ago, when this book was introduced to me by another broker in the business in Hendersonville, and he said, we make this a required reading. And I said, oh, really? So I'm a voracious reader anyhow. I've probably got 15 books open in my Audible right now. I'm a listener. I'm not necessarily a reader, but because I like to redeem the time, But anyway, I was blown away, and so much so that I'm a pretty literal person, and I'm probably a little bit maybe compulsive, but at times. But my point is, I went online after reading the book, and I printed off the evening affirmation, and it says, "I'm going to get up at this time." You're making a personal commitment. Well, I usually get up about 6 or 6:30, but being a little bit of a compulsive person, I'm thinking, well, I can add another extra 2 hours to my day.
Sure.
And then I annualized that, and I said, holy cow, I've got an extra month now.
Wow. Yeah.
Whatever the time amounted to, and I've been doing this. Weekly. Daily. It's just and it's changed my life because that S stands for silence. The A is about affirmations. And the affirmations are so important. Your self-talk matters so much.
It does.
I was sharing recently with our company that I had just taken my mom. She's 87 years old. Wonderful lady. But her self-talk is not heading the right direction. She kept saying, she had made a mistake. And she goes, I'm so stupid. And I'm thinking, Mom, that please, that's not serving you well.
Sure.
Please. So I told our agents, look, I can't control my mom, but I can certainly encourage each of you, pay attention to your self-talk. How do you treat yourself? How do you talk to yourself? Do you believe that you can do the things that you want to do? Do you believe that you're the good person that your heart's desire is? So A is for affirmations.
Mind game for sure. Yep.
V is for visualization.
Okay.
You want to start visualizing your life as you want it to be. You want to start imagining that, that your life is what you want to see, what that end goal is. To start with the end in mind kind of concept there. I know you understand about visualization. I'm sure you visualized what you've got going at CMG more than once.
Well, you have to look at the future, right? And then really put the game plan and the tasks in place to be able to get there. But if you don't see a future, what are you doing right now? So definitely, it's hard to be a visionary sometimes, but you actually, you need to paint that picture and really have something to go after.
You're one of the biggest visionaries I've ever met, Carey Ann. And I mean that sincerely, because it just seems like it's like, I've shared many times with the agents, look, Jim Rohn used to say, how tall does a tree grow? As tall as it can. And it seems like that's how you approach business, is to grow as tall as you can. Irregardless of what might be happening around you, you don't let it take your eyes off the goal. And that's got to come from some strong visualization and internalization and some knowing that you know where you're going and you know who you are. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's the mind is a tricky little beast, let me tell you, and it can do some things to you. But really staying focused, on the go. I listened to this amazing podcast with Shaun White, and he's the gold medalist, the snowboarder, and he talked about he was comfortable with his fails, his losses, and his wins, because his ultimate goal was the marathon down the road, right? Winning that big award. Right. And so I keep visualizing that, I'm going to learn some, I'm going to win some, I'm going to lose some, but we can get there. And what is getting there? Everybody's level of success is different.
Right.
For me, I just love helping as many families as we can. Right. And why say no when you can say yes? And let's find a way to help, help even more. So, I might be a little addicted to that, in trying to help as many families as you can. But, life is short. I learned that so many years ago, 5 years ago now. And, you just never know when it's your last day here. So make a difference for sure. And, okay. So, and the last couple ones is exercise. We talked about that. E for exercise. R for reading.
And I think listening counts as well, since I listen more than I read.
And what's that last one? S?
Scribes.
Oh, we need to write.
Scribing. We got to write. Yeah, journaling.
Good stuff.
Fabulous stuff. Well,
this has been a really good talk here about the Miracle Morning, but we're going to take a short break. You've been listening to the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
I love talking about Miracle Morning. I'm excited about this Wednesday, getting to see Hal Elrod himself. I encourage everybody listening right now to be sure and check him out. If you don't come to the meeting Wednesday, do pick up the book, Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents, or there's a regular Miracle Morning version as well. If you're not a realtor, I promise you,
it'll make a difference in your life.
I promise you, it'll make a difference in your life.
Yep, absolutely.
So, Carey Ann, I've been asking for a while now, or I've been wanting for a while now to get back on a topic that has become really relevant in our real estate industry across the country. Right now, this term iBuyer has become bigger than ever. And I see them getting traction here in Middle Tennessee, and in all sincerity, it breaks my heart. Let me help you get a perspective of what I'm talking about. These are large corporations, not locally owned. They're large corporations they're financial entities that have put millions and millions of dollars together to come into neighborhoods, to come into our town and towns all across the country to purchase property that's and convince people. And there's nothing wrong with this. In general, there's nothing wrong with it. But these are entities that are playing on people's motivation. They're actually preying on people's motivation, of what level of motivation that is, and they're being very deceitful in the process. And that's what breaks my heart. When you think about this, in less than a year, just one of the companies, I'm only talking about one right now.
Okay.
I won't mention the name. But it
rhymes with no. Just joking.
But I want to share a disclaimer before I ever get started on this topic, because I am passionate about it, because this is my industry, this is my life. 35 years invested, actually 70 years. That's 35 years of days and 35 years of nights. In this industry, and I want to protect it. I want to guard it. I want to make sure we have a future. And it's these kind of companies that are trying to change that. So imagine this for a second. One company comes to town a year ago, less than a year ago. In that time, they have convinced 500 families to use them. 500 wow. in less than a year. Now that sounds cool, except that those 500 lost an average of $20,000 to $40,000 when they sold their home to them. Okay, that's what's heartbreaking. Now do the math on that. 20,000 to 40,000 times 500. That's between $10 million and $20 million lost to those folks. Okay, those 500 families. That's $10 million to $20 million no longer in our economy because it's been shipped to New York or wherever. Okay,
sure.
And again, I'm not talking against free enterprise. I'm talking about companies that are coming in trying to play down the value of a realtor and avoid the use of a mortgage professional. They pay cash. They lowball, but they do it in a systematic, kind of sneaky way. Okay, the way that they did it. We'll get into that in a second. But what really had me upset this past week is I won't say which board of realtors, but right in our own newsletter, an ad came out disguised as a news article. Okay. And this was sent out to realtors by realtors. I think sometimes we're not paying attention. I think sometimes we're like that frog in that pan of water, that as the flame is being turned up, that we're saying to ourselves, it'll be okay. It'll be all right. That kind of feels kind of good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's heartbreaking, I know, but if as the real estate community has to rally around and pay attention to this stuff, okay? So here's one of them that says, We Buy Houses, they're a We Buy House company based in Nashville, Tennessee, has issued a public advisory. Okay? This is a company saying, hey, I want to buy your house and I want to buy it for dirt cheap, but I'm going to pretend like I'm writing an article and I'm going to call it a public advisory. The advisory is addressed to homeowners who are trying to deal with any kind of unmanageable debt. Okay, then the ad goes on saying how difficult debt can be and how challenging it can be to overcome it, and it doesn't make sense just to refinance or to pull out an equity line. What makes more sense is suggesting that homeowners should consider a quick sale to get cash to remedy their situations. They highlight, they go on here, and I'm not going to belabor it by reading the whole thing, but I'm trying to help folks understand these are lies being shared as a news authority. And in here, they're saying that they're saying here that the average time to close a transaction with a realtor is 60 days. That most properties are spending about 100 days on the market in Nashville. The real estate market in Tennessee has become saturated. All of these are lies, folks. They're all lies. The market is not saturated. It doesn't take 100 days to sell a house. It doesn't take 60 days to close on a house. And they're going on here to say realtors charge 6% of the sale price as a commission. There are closing costs as well. Both of these hefty liabilities are waived off when homeowners choose this particular company. Additionally, there are no advertising costs, staging expenses. Owners don't have to repair anything, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I want people to understand what we're talking about here. So they're saying, well, you won't have to pay a 6% commission. Let's call the real estate brokerage somewhere between 5 and 7. Let's use the number of 6. Okay, so you won't have to pay that, but here's what you will have to do. You're going to have to, first of all, come down in your price about 10 to 25%. Oh. Okay, and then you're going to ask to be, vacate your home before closing, because we're not going to close on it without that happening. So you got to somehow muscle up the courage to move out of your house without your money, and you're going to move it out a day ahead of time because they're going to want to do the walkthrough ahead of time. So here's the real numbers, though. Realtors charge 5 to 7%. iBuyers are charging 10 to 25%. If we do the math, where they're actually again preying on homeowners' motivation. And one of the examples I wanted to share here, and folks, if you haven't heard about iBuyers, realtors, my realtor community out there, if you haven't considered the damage that iBuyers are doing, please reconsider this. Okay, here's a real example. About 9 months ago, I sold a house in Spring Hill, Tennessee. Wakefield subdivision. Jim McCarthy, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Jim lives not far from this Wakefield, and Jim's our main man here in the sound room helping us produce our podcast. Thank you for that, Jim. But the reason I wanted you to come into this conversation is you're a homeowner right around the corner from where a lot of this kind of stuff is happening, because you live in a neighborhood, you live in Spring Hill, Thompson Station area, where, there's a lot of big companies. We talked about this before. They think that's a sweet spot to be investing. But can you imagine the numbers here for a second as being a local homeowner? Okay, so I have a listing in the Wakefield subdivision, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage, 2,100 square feet in great condition. I tell the folks it's worth, a worst case scenario, $295, but we'll probably get $305 for it. Now, I've included for you guys the evidence of this whole thing I'm about to share here, okay? So you can actually even see who bought it, what they paid for it, and what they then turned around and sold it for. But here's the real numbers, guys. So if you compare, and again, what's got me so frustrated here is it's not a matter of, competition out there. It's not a matter of even an evolving industry. It's a matter of a large entity coming in here and trying to make me sound like the bad guy, or the other realtors, my peers, sounding like they're not of value to the consumer, and that is wrong. That's absolutely. And here's an example of that. Carrie Ann, are you with me?
I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm learning lots.
Okay. Well, I know you guys have heard me talk about iBuyers before, but here's some real numbers right here. So let's look at the real numbers. So if I would have sold this house, worst case scenario, I would have got $295 for it. The 6% commission would have been $17,000. If they would have paid buyer's costs, which is not uncommon in that price point, that's $3,500. Or if they had $2,500 worth of repairs, which they wouldn't have, but so I put a buffer of $6,000 just to make it worst case scenario. Okay,
yeah, that sounds about right.
So I took it down from $299, which probably would have sold at, because it's really hard to find something that's in good condition in the Spring Hill area, as you know, Jim, under $300,000. And I even put a $3,000 additional buffer in. So anyhow, the bottom of the line, they would have netted $268,300.
Okay, $268,300.
Okay, but instead, and these are the numbers I have for you guys to look to validate. The iBuyer paid them $286. So here's how the conversation went. They're going through a divorce. They listed the home with me, so I was going to get paid no matter what. It didn't matter. But I was trying to keep them from losing that kind of money because I knew that it would not be a pretty sight at the end. So instead, the iBuyer offered them $286. Well, they said, well, we didn't want to take less than $295, but that's a $9,000 hit, so we'll take it. I said, that's not all they're going to take. And the next day, they presented their carrying charge then, okay?
Carrying charge?
Carrying charge.
What is a carrying charge?
Yeah, well, that's
carry what?
That's a make-believe charge.
Oh.
What would you think about being charged a $10,500 carrying charge, Jim?
Sounds like a dock fee.
Well,
what's it for?
Yeah, they don't know, but it helps round the numbers up. That's what it does, okay? So then I said, well, I hope that's all, but they've got to do an inspection yet. And now this is the part that was one of the most painful parts, is they did an inspection, and they came back with 2 pages of line items that amounted to $11,500.
2 pages?
2 pages, including changing the doorknobs.
So do they have their own inspector?
Yes, they have their own inspector, and they have their own repair people, and that's the other side of the coin.
Interesting.
Okay, so they came back with $11,300 repair list. So imagine, these are the numbers: $286 minus $10,500 minus $11,300 repair list minus the commission we talked about before, because they got the commission off the higher number. They $286, so that's $17,160.
So you still have to pay the commission?
They still collect the commission. Absolutely.
Off the initial price.
On the initial price.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know that I have enough time to finish this.
What's the last deduction? And then we'll...
Okay, the last deduction is another $3,000. So the net was $244. Versus $268.
Wow. We're just going to leave it there. When we come back, we're going to talk about the differences.
Can you tell I'm pissed? I'm sorry, I can't say that, can I? Can you tell?
You absolutely cannot say that, my friend.
I'm sorry.
Hey, but when you come back, we'll be talking more about the iBuyer and the pros and cons. You've been listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the Talk of Music City Real Estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr, Realty One Group, Music City.
Hey, and Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and My Mortgage Team. And we're back and we're talking all things iBuyer again
Carrie
with
Ann,
a very passionate Monte Mohr in the studio tonight.
I don't like that. I don't like this thing. And again, I want to stress to those listening today that it's not about a healthy competition. That's not what this is about. And it's not about our world is evolving. Our industry is evolving, as you know, Carrie Ann. It's about being lied about and then taking advantage of people's motivation and taking advantage of they don't know what they don't know. And that's why I'm trying to inform the reality of the situation.
It comes back to marketing. You and I see a lot of marketing on TV that in our industries, and I would say the same, like that is not as easy as you think it is, right? Or it's not as fast as it's portrayed on TV. And so you're right. Now, one of the pain points that maybe they're kind of highlighting is real estate commissions, right? And so they're
That's
trying
what the article we read. You don't have to pay the
right,
bad
but then
realtor.
We're finding out that they actually have to pay it.
Well, in this particular one,
They had to pay it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So what you said was, on your scenario, if you were to have sold that property, you would have gotten $9,000 more, and you would have netted them $268,300. And with the iBuyer, you had all of those deductions that you referenced, and one called a carrying charge, which we still don't know what it is, right?
Right.
That's
Doc
an
fee.
interesting, the doc fee there. And so they would have netted $244 and some change, right? For a difference of $24,260 would have been a loss to the seller. And this is an actual real scenario, so this was a
these
true
are real
loss.
numbers, okay? Now, look at the next page behind that listing. This is the actual listing I gave you guys, so
Okay.
you had evidence of this. You can look at the tax records. You can see what the gross sales price was, but you see what they sold it for a few days after they bought it.
And what was that, since we're on a radio show and they can't see anything?
Okay, I'm sorry. I know, but I wanted you to see it.
And you,
I thought you'd say it, but it's
There you go.
305, okay?
305.
So
I'm missing page 2, sorry. That's
Oh,
why.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm sorry.
Keep going.
What's wrong with this radio? Can't you see on this radio? But
I love it. 305.
So they sold it a few days after buying it for 305. After, and I don't know how much work they did on it, but
the other thing people need to take in consideration, and I guess it's theirs, so that's not a big deal, but, we talked about having some flip rules and things at the end, but so they were basically made their money, right, their margin in this carrying charge, right,
That was
plus
part
they
of
were
it.
able to increase, knowing that they're going to have to cover another 3% of another, agent or a buyer's agent on the other side. Do they even allow buyer's agents when they sell?
They do. They put it in MLS. They are local brokerage. That's
Okay.
why they're remaining unnamed.
I see.
But the difference was, Jim, I thought you had a great analogy. How much was that difference is?
The difference, I was looking at it, and just by going back to my car business days, that's about the average price. The difference between the net sale of the 268 and 244 is 24,260. So that's what the loss to the seller is. That's about the price of a brand new Honda Accord. You've given away a car.
So you're giving away
Wow.
a car, all the name of pushing the easy button.
Yep.
Okay, you're giving away a car. And
When you put it that way. Yeah.
Now you can see it.
well, and I hope you understand that it's a big concern, because there's more and more and more of these iBuyers rising up because they see that folks are afraid of the selling process. Folks, here's the simple solution: find a real estate professional and go through the process that real estate professional will teach you how to do, and you can maximize this house. Or your house when you're selling, and it won't be some scary thing that these companies are trying to create in your minds. Okay, that's what's got me so frustrated here. But
it's happening more and more. We had a couple episodes before we had our friends over at Ribbon join us, because that is something similar but a little different, where they come in and they buy your house that you want to purchase, and then you basically are able to move into that home.
Correct.
And then that gives you the time to be able to get top dollar for your
Correct.
sale, right?
Right.
Which is helping a lot of families,
I love Ribbon.
buy their dream home for sure.
for the record, I love Ribbon. Ribbon is the answer to this dilemma. Suddenly your home can be a cash sale because it's been approved by Ribbon. It's been appraised by Ribbon. We know that it's good to go. I love Ribbon, but I guess that's another show then to get into it.
Yeah,
today.
but one thing that was unique that I picked up and I remembered was, there is a certain time of the year that's better to sell than other times of the year, right? So if you find that perfect home, now to you, I guess you say every time's a good time to sell.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
So the seller in me might think that I don't want to get out in the cold.
I've sold homes.
I should have learned. I should have done more than that.
Every holiday other than Christmas. I have shown property on Christmas, so the family didn't care for it. My family didn't care for me doing that, but anyhow, that's
right. Well, rumor has it you might get maybe a few extra dollars come one part of the year than the other, right?
Rumor
But
has it.
rumor
Right.
has it.
Right.
So, with that particular program, you could still buy your dream home and wait because they give you 6 months to rent it.
Correct.
But wait till that season.
Right.
That gives you top dollar and
buy
then
it
put
when
the house
buy it when the market's a little bit
low.
down.
Right.
Right.
And then sell when the market's up, which I think is genius. I love
do
that
too.
part
I love
of the idea of that. So
That's not the iBuyer. That's Ribbon. Just to make sure nobody's
right, that's
confused
Ribbon.
here.
But, we have to embrace the idea that iBuyers are coming to town and they're here. It's just education is key. And what do they say? Fake news, fake marketing, or twisted marketing. I don't know how well they word that.
Certainly fake news for sure.
Well, I mean, I see some things when they write articles for mortgages. They have these ghostwriters that write all this information out there. And they offer it for us to use, and I read it and go, that's absolutely nothing that I do, and that is not even how our industry is, or that you're not. These are all myths out there, right? You're sharing the wrong information.
The market's not bad in Nashville. It's awesome. Are you kidding me? No home is sitting out there for 100 days. If there is,
and it does not take 60 days to close a loan. If I average all of my transactions less than 20 days, and last month we helped serve over 65 families, and that was all under 20 days, right? That was just me, my personal team, and the whole branch. I think we hit 130 families of such. Wow. So that's a lot. So you're not, you don't have to wait around. Doesn't sound like a slow market
to me.
No, it doesn't. Absolutely. And we're a small branch, of only 14 salespeople. So it's we're moving and shaking there, which means there's a lot of families out there that want to, gain home ownership. And then I do think they're talking to the folks that may have a situation, like you said, a divorce or something just recently, was tragic in their lives. Or like you said, there's so much debt, and what do I do? It's just so much, it's so overwhelming. Well, just take a moment, step back, read the book Miracle Morning. Right. It'll make you really just break it down where, call professionals and educate before making a quick decision. I always say, slow down to speed up. Get all the information and make a really good decision. That's
a great guideline to live by. Right before coming here to the studio today, I went by and spoke to some folks at an assisted living. And I said, look, this is really a big deal. Do not let any of your folks that are moving in here ever talk to an iBuyer, because they're going to get abused in the process. Make sure they talk to a realtor. It doesn't have to be me. I know I sound prejudiced in the whole process or self-serving. I'm not, I promise. Don't even use me. Don't even consider using me. But use a professional realtor, okay? Because they're going to do a better job for you than selling it off to an iBuyer. Remember, folks, those iBuyers have to sell the home after they buy it from you. Your home is only worth what it's worth. So that means they're going to have to discount it enough to make it worth their time.
This was really good information. I learned a lot today.
Thanks, Carey Ann.
Always good seeing you.
Thanks
here.
for smiling while I vented.
I love you, the passionate Monty when it comes out. So we learned a lot today. We talked about Feed America First. Check them out on their website. Miracle Morning with Hal Elrod's coming to town this Wednesday. So if you haven't read his book, look it up, and just take a moment and learn more about the iBuyer. It was good information, for sure.
Can I talk about what I learned?
Yeah,
what did you learn there?
You got quite the throwing arm after throwing that chair across the room. You got pretty ramped up in between the break.
Thanks, Jim.
I love it. And thanks for joining us, Jim. We really appreciate you all the time.
My pleasure.
And thanks to all of our listeners out there. We really appreciate you. The show would not go on without you tuning in. So we will see you next week. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.